I joined.
You're muted. With your voice.
What? No.
Praveen? Praveen?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Praveen, all the speakers, can you make them admins?
Yes, we are already did, sir. I'm doing it one at a time. Most of them are.
Okay.
Just starting. Can you get me my beer?
Have you seen that you don't have your beer?
know.
But why is that not starting?
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're
Am I
audible.
audible?
Yes, sir, very much.
Yeah. Okay. Shall I start? Shall I start? Pritham is there?
Dr. Bhagwan, you can start actually.
Good evening, one and all. On behalf of AMSI, I would like to welcome each and everyone who has joined from across the globe today to pay our tributes to Dr. Kishore Nayak, maxillofacial surgeon, who was an inspiration and mentor to many of us. I remember he being a faculty at AB Shetty when I was an undergraduate student, though I didn't have much of an interaction as an undergraduate. But when, as a postgraduate at Bapuji Dental College, he was a visiting faculty there who introduced us to maxillofacial surgery in large, particular to orthognathic surgery. He made it look so simple and inspired us or motivated us to take up orthognathic surgery in a big way. Not only as a mentor, he was a great leader who, at crisis time, led AMSI through his dynamic leadership. Today, what we see maxillofacial surgery, his contribution is immense. Throughout his battle, which we have seen for past 17 years, he has inspired each and everyone with his dedication. With his passing away, not only the maxillofacial surgical fraternity, the AMSI has lost a great maxillofacial surgeon and a human being. With these words, I request our secretary, Dr. Girish Rao, to say a few words.
Thank you, Dr. Bhagwan. Very good morning to our friends from US. Good afternoon to our friends from UK and Europe. And good evening to the rest of the world. Thank you for joining us for this program, which is dedicated to our dear friend, Dr. Kishore Nayak. The legacy lives on. I met Kishore for the very first time almost about 40 years back in 1983 when I entered into Government Dental College. At that point of time, Dr. Kishore was doing his post-graduation in conservative dentistry. I mean, he was a phenomena in Government Dental College. I mean, the corridors would reverberate with his loud voice and his laughter and his jokes. Even to this day, is carried through all his friends at GDC. If we look at maxillofacial surgery in India and Bangalore particularly, up to 80s, I think it was just oral surgical procedures which were being done. Most of the times where it was dentoalveolar work and a bit of wiring and a bit of resection and TMJ, we would do gap arthroplasties. Then came Kishore in 1990 to Bangalore. The entire maxillofacial surgery scenario completely transformed when he entered into India and Bangalore. And he introduced for young trainees to all of us orthognathic surgery, costochondral grafts, and oncology. And that's where the entire specialty completely changed. And that's why I would say maxillofacial surgery before Kishore and maxillofacial surgery after Kishore started doing the work here was completely a game changer, I would say, in India and in the whole world, I would say. I was lucky. I did my first orthognathic surgery with Dr. Kishore in Malya Apollo Hospital at that point of time. He would train us. And in fact, I just qualified with an MDS degree, and Kishore would make me do on the other side. And that was how he trained youngsters. And today, maxillofacial surgery has grown by leaps and bounds. He took over AMSI as general secretary and then moved on to become the president of our association and led the association to bring it into limelight in the international scenario when he took over as the president of IOMS and made such an impact into our specialty, not only in India, but the rest of the world. I mean, the entire spirit of maxillofacial surgery today depended on the way in which Kishore led the team of young and dynamic maxillofacial surgeons. And I'm glad today we are doing a lot of work and in par with the rest of the world, I would say. And that is what Kishore's legacy is all about. And I'm sure we will continue the superb work which he taught us, and that legacy will live on through all of us and all his trainees. Thank you.
Thank you, President Dr. Bhagwan Das Rai and Dr. Girish Rao, our General Secretary, for organizing this. This is supposed to be like a formal meeting of Dr. Nayak's friends. I'm going to host this. We tried reaching out to most of his friends, mainly of his age group. So the plan is most of his friends whom we could reach out to are going to say a few words. So rest of you whom we couldn't reach out, we have a request for all of you. I know Kishore sir touched many lives, and I know there are a lot of people who are very close, and if we try to figure out, it will take an ages for us to organize this. So what we have done is we request every one of you to share your story, to share your message in the chat. We'll extract from the chat and we'll make a PPT and display at the end, so that all of us can read the stories of each others. So request all friends, please write your message on the chat, write your stories, experience with Kishore sir. So we will make a PPT and share at the end. This whole thing was planned such a way that, one of the main thing about Kishore sir was his humor, his joke. I know there are a lot of jokes we can share, but it's not possible to share every one of them. So I'm going to say one which was between me, my colleague, and Kishore sir when I just joined the team. Frankly speaking, I was scared of sir, and I was very comfortable with Sanju sir. So one of the days Kumar had not reached, and sir says, "Okay, start the case." Then he asked me, "Where's Kumar?" I said, "Sir, he's in the parking." Then sir came in, we started the case. By 15-20 minutes, Kumar walked in. Said, "Kumar is a nice guy. He never lies. Do you know?" I said, "Okay, sir." "Yes, sir." He said he's in parking. He didn't tell you hospital or home. That was Kishore sir. Even in the middle of a surgery, he'll have a humor out of anything. So, friends, we are here to celebrate his life. I request every one of you, knowing it, sir, he would have picked a glass, wine, beer, whiskey, whatever, and would have celebrated. So let's celebrate life in his style. So request every one of you, please pick a glass of whiskey, beer, or anything you like, and let's say cheers. I request all his friends speaker to on their mic for a minute, and let's say cheers to Dr. Kishore Nayak.
Cheers.
Please,
Cheers to
everybody.
Kishore.
Yes.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
So, first of all, let me thank AMSI for organizing this for us. Most of you have heard Kishore sir's joke. I don't know how many of you have heard Kishore sir sing. This is one of the clips I got. One day, Kishore sir called one of his best friend and asked him to come to play golf, and he said, "I can't come." To convince him, he sends him a song. So, Praveen, can you play the song, please? This is for all of you to hear Kishore sir singing.
ಬಾರ ವಿಜ್ಜು ಬಾರ ಗಾಲ್ಫ್ ಆಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕ ಬಾರ 14 ಹೋಲ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ನೀನು ಹೋಗಬಹುದು ಬಾರ ವಿಜ್ಜು ಬಾರ ಬಾರ ವಿಜ್ಜು ಬಾರ ಗಾಲ್ಫ್ ಆಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕ ಬಾರ ಹದ್ನಾಲು ಹೋಲು ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ನೀನು ಹೋಗಬಹುದು ಬಾರ ವಿಜ್ಜು ಬಾರ.
Thank you, Praveen. I now like Sanju sir to take over from here. Sir, please.
Yeah, for me, it's a emotional moment, but I just need to say I celebrate his humor, the way he used to, you know, he was like a he was like, he was my partner, he was my colleague, he was everything in my life for the last 25 years, 28 years, I would say. Yes, since 1997. And yes, I will not, you know, talk about that, but let me tell you about two jokes of his which was so significant, which was, you know, I mean, it's not, I will not say colorful jokes, but I will say jokes which were very sober. One was when he walked into a OT with, where we had a head and neck surgeon who used to be very slow. And I mean, he and I used to be very fast in our surgical procedures. So when he used to walk into the OT, he used to say to the anesthetist, please change the clock and put a calendar on. So, I mean, that was the kind of person he was. I mean, he was incredible. And the other thing was, I remember one of his jokes. I think I don't know whether he made it up or whether Bob or Peter knows about it, but it was one of the jokes in Sunderland. There was in the tabloid about 500 jobs of NHS in jeopardy, and he was looking for a job. And she told him that, why don't you go to jeopardy? So it was, I mean, he was always full of jokes, and that's all I celebrate about him, because he used to be walking in to the doctor's room and he would lighten up the room. He would walk into the surgery, it would lighten up the surgery. And yes, I mean, I can't say anything more about him because he was like a brother to me, something I miss. Thank you.
I request Professor Peter Wardbooth to please say a few words.
Yeah, I hope you can hear me. It was with great sadness that I heard about Kishore's death. And we all knew about his illness, but nevertheless, when he actually died, it was a great shock. And I have to say, my main thoughts today are with his family, Ashwini, Sushila, and Kiran. And I send them my deepest sympathy and condolences. I know from personal experience it's a very difficult time, and it's the finality of it all, and of course, the loss of a great man. Kishore came to the northeast of England because his uncle was a GP near Durham. When he started in Sunderland, it was a very junior post, but he clearly had a lot more experience from his training in India. And it was clear that he was intelligent, hardworking. And what was a great surprise, of course, was the fact that he had this wonderful wit and wisdom. And something which perhaps isn't very often mentioned, but very obvious, he was a natural leader. Personally, I appreciated his disapproval of, if I'm allowed to say this on a Sunday, bullshit, which he was very clear he didn't approve of. And he taught us all a bit of a lesson on that. Time does not allow to expand on his various pranks and hilarious events that he instigated in Sunderland. I don't think anybody died as a result of them, but it was pretty touch and go. But nevertheless, he's the sort of trainee you would never forget. However, despite his humour and good fun, it would be a terrible oversight if we wrote him off just as a larger-than-life personality. He was incredibly dedicated to the specialty and dedicated, more importantly, to his family. And many of you know that he had a post in the US, but unfortunately his brother was killed in a tragic accident. And he immediately went home to support his family, regardless of the fact he was going to lose this wonderful opportunity in the US. I don't think, however, despite his amazing flexibility and stoicism, he'd ever quite came to terms with the British weather, particularly the northeast of England, which was notorious for its very cold winters. And I think even to this day, he must be shivering at the thought of a freezing cold wind coming off the North Sea. Personally, he was a great friend to me, and he helped me on numerous projects. And he was always very efficient, self-effacing, and he got the job done, which is very unusual for most trainees, as you can imagine. When Peter Banks, who was president of the International Association, asked me if I knew somebody in India who would get involved with the International Association, he was clearly my first choice. And he certainly had a huge impact. And I think we'll probably hear more about that later from Nabil. But he was hugely important in the progress that he created. He also maintained and established and improved relationships between India and the UK. And in fact, he was quite, as you know, interested in India and very happy and enjoyed seeing the progress that India made in the world as a whole, both economically and culturally. And he did manage a very wry smile when I pointed out that we have an Indian Prime Minister driving into Downing Street in an Indian car. Above all, however, he brought a lot of happiness to the world, and he will be certainly greatly missed by me and my family. I can, however, put a sort of note of caution on this meeting and saying, because of his modesty and good humor, he would not approve of today's events. He was far too big for that. Thank you.
Thank you. I request everyone to kindly mute your mic, please. Other than the speakers, everyone kindly mute your mic. Some of the participants are complaining there are disturbance when the speaker is speaking. Please mute your mics. Request Dr. Bob Watt to please.
Well, I hope you can hear me okay. I thought that was a very nice and very
Yes, Doctor.
thought that was a very nice and touching tribute by Peter. Peter and I were together at Sunderland with Kishore, and I share much of what Peter has said about Kishore's sense of humor, his wit, his work ethic. He certainly was an excellent trainee. When you're an academic oral maxillofacial surgeon, you have a lot of things at work, you know, clinical, research, publications, education, service. The most important thing you come to realize really is education and training, and that's where you can make a difference. We were very fortunate at Sunderland to have Kishore as a trainee. I think that an academic oral maxillofacial surgeon is a bit like a grower of wine, grower of grapes. It's not really the size of your vineyard. It's not really the whether you can grow grapes. It's the wine you produce. Some years you have reasonable wines. Some years you have okay wines, but very occasionally you'll produce a vintage wine. Kishore was a vintage wine. And, you know, that's how institutions gain their reputation, or academics gain their reputation. It's the people that they play a hand in producing. I'm very proud to have had a hand in training Kishore over the years. I've been to many, many meetings, and when I get introduced, very often people say, "Oh, you're Bob Ward. Didn't you train Kishore Nayak?" It's almost like, didn't you work for him, you know? He was a vintage bottle of wine, and I very much regret his passing. Sue and I would like to send our condolences to his wife and family at this unhappy time. He'd be sorely missed. He was certainly a larger-than-life figure and did a lot for the specialty. Thank you for inviting me.
Dr. Pete has, please. Praveen, put slides for Dr. Pete Hess.
Yes, I just.
Dear friends of Kishore, I have known him since over 25 years, and in memory, I'm now wearing the satin scarf he and Ashwini gave me when I became president of IOMS as his successor. Some of my earliest moments of Kishore go back over 20 years. It was at a congress in a small hotel in Goa in the early 2000s. And the evening before the congress, we were standing in the sea with Guna and Nabil, drinking a beer, and Kishore was cracking one joke after the other. And then I met him almost every year, often at Indian society meetings, where there was more often than not a very early morning, leaving the hotel in the darkness and seeing the sunrise, having a breakfast on the terrace of a golf club, and then teeing off and rejoining meetings at lunchtime. I was also asked to talk about Kishore, obviously. For me, Kishore was a giver and not a taker. The knowledge that he had accrued in the UK and then in the US, he brought it back with him to Bangalore and to India. And as we have heard from Bob and from Peter, he became an excellent teacher himself, sharing his knowledge and his skills. I vividly remember one day having the honor and the pleasure to do a whole day course on orthodontic surgery together in Jaipur on the pre-Congress course day. Kishore's success, excellence in his profession, his charisma, his conviviality, all that made him many friends nationally and internationally, because he could share all the things he knew in a very kind way and was also an excellent mentor. All that made that he succeeded in bringing the icons to India in Bangalore, where once again, he showed superb management skills, bringing all that together. And even there, under all that stress, he showed his humor and his kindness. This also made him an ideal candidate to become president of the IOMS and to break out of a series of European, US, Australian presidents and have someone from India, which was fantastic for our society, indicating growth, indicating the value of education, and indicating respect for his superb leadership. And from then on, we started to more and more meet regularly for executive committee meetings, for board of directors meetings. And we always found an opportunity together with Professor Nabil Saman, with Professor Alexis Olson and others, to have a round of golf either the day before or the day after a meeting. What you need to know also is when Kishore was president, overcoming diseases and illness, being courageous, always coming back. He was also a president where IOMS was in a difficult position. We should also not to forget to have a brief moment of remembrance for Bob Woodwards, who was treasurer at the time and worked very hard together with Kishore and with Larry Nielsen, with myself and others to turn around IOMS. And it is the legacy of Kishore that things have gone well ever since. All that was based on wise decisions that were made under his leadership. As president, I very often phoned him, emailed him, videoed him, because he was indeed an excellent mentor and helped you to think and make hopefully good and wise decisions. We have shared the joys of golf and our passion for golf in Chicago, in Cape Town, in Melbourne, both courses in Bangalore, and he even visited me to play on my own course south of Guildford here in the UK. Once, when we were playing, we did a tee shot, both of about 220 yards or something, not too long, but a good tee shots. Our balls touched and stayed together, as you see on the picture here on your left. And he told me, now we are also brothers in golf. The last time I met him, was at his house and his microbrewery, and I was to stay there as his guest with him and Ashwani for a few days prior to the Congress in Bangalore in 2019. We had a wonderful time talking about many things, enjoying our friendship, sitting in his garden or under his terrace, tasting all the different beers he had made. I wish I had seen him again since after COVID, but unfortunately, that was not to be. Kishore was a true friend, a true golfer, and all the qualitative admiration we have already expressed in our word. But he had also the same wisdom and the sense of humor on the golf course as he had in life, in his career, and above all, in his service to the profession, nationally and internationally. Goodbye, my friend. Rest in peace. And may your family forever find strength in the many souvenirs of the good man and father he was. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Ashok Dabir, please. Praveen, can you change the slide or Ashok Dabir?
Hello.
We can hear you, sir. Please go ahead, sir. Yes, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Oh, hello. You know, I met Kishore as a young man. Actually, he definitely was younger to me. And what was striking was his presence. Very cheerful, jolly good fellow. And the following he had, the fellows who would be with him, they always very speaking positive about him. He's a great leader. Then he organized conferences, and his conferences were very good, punctual. Back, you know, the boys work with him, and so the leadership and the organization, which was very impressive about him. His sense of humor was everybody has spoken about him. I remember one incident. There's someone in a conference presented a paper on terrorist activity in some state of India. And at the end of the paper, Kishore stood up and said that you guys have done more harm than the terrorists have done to the public. Anyway, I am really grateful to him for he's started the golf tournament, and we must continue playing that golf tournament every year at our conferences. His battle with illness, I think he must be the world's greatest fighter who withstood all the insult. I remember he says, Ashok, the chemos are so painful, but well, he fought the disease so well, and not only fought, but I know of some of my friends and colleagues whom I asked to speak to him during their illness, and he inspired them. All this is possible because of Ashwini's support, that quiet lady, great man. Kishore will always live in my heart, inspire me. I'll remember his happy face, but I'll miss him. Thank you.
Dr. Rajesh Diravan.
We all are deeply saddened to hear the bad news about the passing away of a dear friend, the legend Kishore, a great friend, a great visionary leader, excellent surgeon, an academician, and one of the best extempore speakers. Above all, a noble soul. His contributions to the field of maxillofacial surgery in India and internationally are innumerable, and his legacy will continue to inspire all of us and all generations to come. Kishore's remarkable surgical expertise and innovative approach revolutionized the field, transforming countless lives and setting a new standard to excellence. I do remember a couple of incidences way back in '94 when Kishore organized a conference in Bangalore. There, I was already working as joint secretary, and Kishore has organized that conference so very well. I offered, though I was a candidate to be the honorary general secretary of UMSI, I offered Kishore that, Kishore, you have worked so hard and so very well. Instead of me, you please contest, and we saw it that Kishore becomes a unanimous secretary, and he did wonderful work. And since then, we became very close friends. I also remember the time way back in 2000, 2001, when I was to go to Bangalore for admission of my son. And Kishore, all the way, he came to pick me up at the airport, Ashwini. He took me to his residence. He went for his work. Then later he came and he took me to the medical college, and he helped me in getting admission of my son in one of the medical colleges in Bangalore, though he did not join. And the amount which was paid, he saw it that was refunded back to me. Not only that, Ashwini took me around the whole town to take me some sightseeing and all. That is one, we can say, the hospitality on his part and his wife's part, we were deeply touched. As far as our association is concerned, he has done so much, particularly setting the constitution. I was one of the member in the constitution committee as honorary general secretary, and then we changed this constitution. There was a time there was so much of tiff between North and South, and associations come to almost a split. But then Kishore promised me this will never happen with few friends. We saw to it there was no split, and every one of us are happy. There's nothing like North and South now. And all this credit goes to my friend Kishore, who was a great visionary, great leader, and a great friend. He was friends of friend. I would say the legacy he has left behind, we are going to be missing him. May his remarkable journey be a continued source of inspiration to all of us. At this juncture, I want to assure the family of Dr. Kishore, our thoughts and prayers are always with them, with all the friends and all the loved ones. Rest in peace, my dear friend Kishore. We are going to miss you, but we are going to follow the path which you have shown for progress of our association, progress of our maxillofacial surgery in India. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Prabhu, please.
Good evening. Kishore to me is not only a friend, even though I am a senior, he was my leader. Because why I'm telling you that he was my leader, that I passed out in 1978. But till 1994, I met him at the Bangalore conference. I was not attending any conferences or anything like that. But he is the one who met me and said, and in 2002, when I organized the conference at Kodaikanal, he came and asked me for a bottle of whiskey to be given to Shukdabira and Jane Khanna. I said, I gave him a 5-liter can. He said, this fellow must be Vijay Malaya. Then he said like that, and then from that time, when I gave the highest income to the AOMSI, he said, you must take over the association and you must take over as the secretary of the association and in the work hard. But that time it was when the association was coming up. So my life in AOMSI, I owe it to him, because today I am somebody. It is because of Kishore and Kishore's friends. Kishore's friends around us, and we met so much of fun in all the conferences. After that, I never missed any conferences, and we made so much of fun. And when I won as the president at Coimbatore, I showed you. We had such a night that it went on till 4:30 in the morning, and 6 o'clock we were going for a walk, going out for walking. Very this thing that but I could not come to see him after his end, and even just before that, because I am not keeping good health. And I really miss my friend. I won't say I miss, he's still live in my heart. Thank you very much for giving me this.
Dr. Mustafa, please.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Preetham, am I audible?
Yes, loud and clear. We can hear you from Bangalore.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. And that is precisely the reason why so many of us are assembled here today. We are not here to mourn the departure, but to remember the shared good times and the joys. For me, he has been a teacher to begin with, a mentor, and a close friend. During the initial period of my training, I thought that I am not cut out to do orthodontic procedures. Watching Kishore execute the skeletal procedures with such ease and panache motivated and inspired me to pursue the same. This reminds me of an anecdote that happened in the year 1994. I had just finished my post-graduation and I had a case of mandibular setback and required BS bilateral BSSO. So Kishore was supposed to come and do it. So he told me the previous day, I have trained you so well, you're capable of doing it on your own. I don't think so you would need my help. In any case, I would book my ticket at around 12 noon and you start your case at around 9 o'clock and see if you can pull it off on your own. And I did manage to do it at 11 o'clock. I had 11:30, I finished completing the osteotomy and separating the segments, and I called him, and rest is history. Today, whatever orthodontic work that I do, I owe it to him. Besides the leadership qualities, to the point being said that Kishore, I'm proud to be a part of your legacy. We will to uphold the values that you have inculcated in us. I will cherish the fond memories and I will never say goodbye to you, Kishore.
Thank you, Mustafa. I request Dr. Elangovan now, please. Prabhu, Praveen, can you share the?
Can you hear me?
Slide? Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Kishore, our dear friend, no longer with us, and we are here to celebrate his life. Our love and regards to Ashwini, Kiran, and Sushila. Kishore was younger than me, but always behaved as my big brother. My wife, Regina, remembered incidences where Kishore never wanted anyone close to him being unhappy. Whenever she was down, he was there behind her. Our friendship started more than 32 years ago. I was a trainee in Sunderland, UK, and was desperate to get primary cleft exposure after obtaining initial training under the tutorship of Ian Jackson. So I asked my boss, Peter Woodbooth, and Peter said, I know a man who will sort it for you, and arranged me to fly to India. I landed at the old Bangalore airport on one autumn late afternoon in 1992. Coming out of the exit hall, never exposed to such a crowd, and being surrounded by many taxi drivers, no mobile phones, no internet. I saw a tall guy nearly 56 yards away waving at me, never even seen my photo. That was Kishore. Our friendship started then. we experienced difficulty in getting cleft exposure in Bangalore. The next day, we flew to Mangalore and met friends like Prasad, Krishna, and Mustafa. He was a young boy then. Still, the number of cleft exposures were limited. Kishore contacted Professor Bhaskar Rao in Davod. The rest is history. Maxvac fraternity of India should salute Kishore as he who started cleft care in India and now flourished to today's position. Back in Bangalore, he who won the battle, non-mandible trauma exposure to Maxvac, winning the turf wars with the other disciplines. The simple beginning in 1993 and 94 brought ICOM to Bangalore, as many of you alluded to, followed by the celebration of his presidency in Barcelona, and then the special anniversary celebration in London. My wife and I learned with Kishore, made lifelong friends, and became part of his family, as he will never let us to stay in hotels. And being at Kiran's wedding was fond memories for us. He even persuaded Nabil to come to our house to taste my wife's special Sri Lankan omelette. And I think Nabil came with some reluctance and hope he enjoyed it. I was exposed to two parts of life of Kishore, professionally and personally. Professionally, he started things together and he went on to become a revered international figure. Personally, he was the big brother in status and behavior. My job application to Dorset, UK in 1992 was sent from his fax machine. His last text to me, asking to be brave, to understand his decision, to be positive and remember the closeness and the kinship we had. And he said, we may meet in July if you come to ACOM. That is my regret. I'm delayed by 3 weeks. Kishore, my dear friend, big brother, we shall wish you, and thank you for being you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I now request Dr. Gabriel, please.
You mean me?
Not Nabil, sir, Dr. Gabriel. Nabil, sir, you are after three more people. Praveen?
Yes, sir. I'm trying to find the.
Okay. Can we move to? Do we have the Dr. Julio's presentation ready? We can move to him. We can find it and then get back later.
Sure.
Okay, Praveen?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Dr. Julio, please. Can you play his presentation? He'll speak with his presentation, Praveen.
Who are you talking to now?
To Julio. So, Praveen, can you play the presentation, Praveen?
Yeah, should I open or the technical guy could run it? Maybe I can. Sorry, 1 second. Right. So, first of all, I have to say that I am fully shocked by the sad news of Kishore passing. Really, I was not conscious of the situation. It was a really shocking. Yeah. Could you hear me?
Yeah, sir. Good to go.
Okay. Yeah, for that, Firstly, I want to express my deepest condolences as I did before through Sanjeev to Kishore's family, especially to Ashwini, and to the big family of the Indian Association, and also to our big global family. So I met Kishore for the first time during the incredible conference in Bangalore. At that time, I was education chairman. When I was member of the education committee under Nabil. And at that conference, I really felt how the International Association was a global organization, and the leadership of figures like Kishore. It was really an incredible experience, which probably had a deep impact in my life. So Kishore was always together with me. We had a close friendship, and it's nice to see that after that conference in Bangalore, we met in different meetings, in different conferences throughout the world, spreading this concept of our specialty as a global family. This curious, like in this meeting in the conference of Alasibu Latin Americans, he was very active. Also in Latin America, we were under the poster of two friends, dos amigos, and really we met a big friendship. Sometimes I was submitted to challenge like this. I was not active in golf playing, but Kishore convinced me to take a helicopter ride over the Alasibus waterfall. It was really an incredible experience, and so, but the impact of this figure, we really have to recognize that we stand on the shoulders of giants. The impact of Kishore, and it was said before by one of our colleagues in the specialty globally, was incredible. Probably he contributed to change the philosophy and the approach as a global family. And finally, he arrived to the presidency of the International Association that was mentioned by Pete Hurst, and really was an impressive presidency. I have to mention that under his presidency was the 50th anniversary of the International Association, and he played an active role in the organization of the celebration, always smiling. I will, fortunately, my last, let's say, contact with him, it was like in these pictures, always smiling, always friendly, and to remember how the international conference under his presidency was held in Barcelona in Spain. By the way, the bid was successful in Bangalore's ICOMS, and so our life was really linked to Kishore's activity. As the president, he always expressed his confidence in the organization of the ICOMS. Javier was the president of the international of the committee, and he was the president of the scientific committee. And here you can see how Kishore can put order in this group of friends, and finally to have very successful and very intensive meetings, as it was firstly expressed. But beside the scientific program and beside the, let's say, institutional events, there are always time to celebrate and also to be familiar, to get familiarized with the traditions of Spain in this time. So we'll have really good times. And this fluently, after Pete Hurst, I was appointed as the president of the International Association. Always, curiously, Kishore is close to me, always close to me, and always supporting me. And something that maybe only the more involved people in the International Association know, that was that exactly 1 week after my starting as the president of the International Association, our executive director has to leave because of personal reasons, and Kishore was very kindly supporting us, not only as a past president, but as an interim executive director, which really saved the association's headquarters at that time. So I felt strongly supported with him, and also globally and in India. We had the opportunity to have the International Congress on Oral Oncology in Bangalore, and always in every national meeting. I am a member of the AMC, and so I feel also that Kishore's passing is also a personal loss for me and for the association, and always happy. And he knew a lot of small things about me, like that I am really very keen to there's the Indian sweets, and he took always me to a sweet cafeteria in order to have some delights there. So as I said, we really stand in the shoulders of giants. Kishore is a giant. Kishore, you will always be with us. We will always having you in our heart. Thank you for everything you have done, and take care of us. We will miss you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Dr. Alejandro Martinez. Oh, Dr. Gabriel, your internet is fine now? Can you speak?
My Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
I hear you now.
Ah, super, super. Unfortunately, my internet broke down. So I will try to talk to you like this, to all the friends of Kishore, and that's a very sad moment, I have to say. And I want to start with an anecdote. I got to know Kishore in 2005 when I was organizing the ICOMS for the International Association in Vienna. And Kishore knew already that he was in the row and he would organize the meeting. So we spent a lot of time together, and he was asking me about tips and how it has to be organized with the rules and regulations. And I told him, that is really strict, and we all know this with the International Association. You have to follow all the rules, and you have to keep within a framework. And he sure said, yeah, we will do this, but we'll bring and they will play some tricks on the board and the executive and on everyone. And it was so, he was a very special human being. I honestly have to say that was the beginning of a very professional, friendly relationship I had with him. And he was a genius in combining professionalism with lifestyle. He always, as we all said, he had always his smile on his lips and he had always a joke, but he was very professional on the same time. And for me, he was the perfect link between East and West. And that is what was so necessary also within the International Association. He made a successful, most professional ICOMS at Bangalore, and his presidency was fantastic. And he was a real leader. And he was, what I appreciated a lot, he was target aimed. He went for a goal, he went towards it, he went directly, and he was always successful. He was a great, great friend and professional. It's really heartbreaking to see that he's not with us anymore, because we will all think of him, and he's an unforgettable person, I honestly have to say. And my condolence goes to his family, of course. Ashwini was always a very elegant, very stable, and very discreet pillar in the back of his life. And I really feel with them and with the family. And he was a great leader in the International Association, and we all aim for his goals as well. So, Kishore, we will miss you. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to Dr. Martinez.
Good morning from Mexico. I met Kishore around 20 years ago, and I will start giving a definition to him. My definition of a great leader is one who caused something to happen that was not going to happen, and that was Kishore. He was a great leader. He broke paradigms, forms, styles by simply being a great human being with a common sense. Smiles, intelligent, brave, serving to everyone and not being served. He inspired and gave to IOMS and to the world the flavor of life that was needed. He was a truly international leader. I met him around 20 years ago in Chicago. I was president of the Mexican Association at that time, and IOMS made a reunion with all national presidents, and to have 3 days there
and I met him, and guess where? In a table with a beer, having fun, saying jokes. And I remember that Kishore and I, we were just saying a joke, each of us, all night. And he inspired me. I mean, he talked to me, he told me how was IOMS, and that was Kishore. The second time that he really changed part of my life was in 2012, around 2012. We were in a reunion of the international board, and I had to decide to stay in the executive committee or to stay in the international board. And he immediately called me and said, Alex, just quit to the international board. I need you in IOMS. You will change in Mexico and Latin America the story as I have done it in India. It's very painful. Feels like someone went inside our hearts and stole a piece of it, knowing this lost. So let's honor Kishore in our everyday with our students, with our patients, with our colleagues, friends, and family. And I wish peace in the heart of all his family, especially his lovely wife, Ashwini. Elda and I, we send you our condolences and a warm hug. Rest in peace, my brother. We'll see you for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Joseph Hellman, please.
Yes, thank you very much. I had the honor to know Kishore for the last couple of decades. I started my tenure as chair of the research committee of the International Association of Oral Maxillofacial Surgery when Kishore was the president. Not only was it a creative and productive time with shared values, common grounds, but it was filled with fun, laughter, good wine, cold beer, and plenty of jokes. We used to have marathons of humor in which each one of us had to follow the other one with a joke until we exhausted them. But even when we exhausted the jokes, we didn't stop laughing and enjoying his cherished company and his eternal optimism. Professionally, Kishore was a pioneer in the field in India and eventually in the entire world. His commitment to the mission was always there, was a commitment that was profound and clear. I will take the liberty to quote an interview that Kishore gave to the Association of Oral Maxillofacial Surgeons in India just before he became president of the International Association of Oral Maxillofacial Surgery. In that interview, he said, "The patient is always of primary importance. He or she comes to you with a lot of hope and immense trust, which we should respect. Treat them the same way you personally you would want to be dealt with. Perform any procedure on a patient with a level of skill that you feel you possess and you would not hesitate to do on yourself or on your kind and kin. Patients are the reason we exist, and their well-being is paramount and surpasses all else." This quote of Kishore exemplifies his high morals, his characteristics as a selfless individual, dedicated teacher, generous soul, and without doubt, a visionary leader. He was always well respected and deeply admired. I personally value the quality of loyalty as one of the highest traits in life. Without any doubt whatsoever, Kishore was a real, trustworthy, loyal friend. I will miss him, no doubt. We all will. My thoughts and prayers are with his family. And I hope that the wonderful memories of his journey through life may fill the void caused by his departure. Kishore, we all loved you and we miss you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Nabil Saman.
Thank you. And just to continue from what Yossi Hellman said, that he is a loyal friend, certainly. And back for what Elangovan mentioned, about 30 years ago, Elanco organized a conference or a course in Dharwad on cleft surgery, in which I was happily invited by Elanco to join. And Ward Booth was also there, Peter. And that was the beginning. I met this man, and he was, in Peter's word, larger than life. He took over the room wherever you went. And that was great. We had such a wonderful time starting that day. And that went on until the last minute. Basically, Kishore, we were going to see, our families met together every year on various holidays. And he was such a wonderful father to his kids and such a wonderful friend to our own kids. He goofed with the kids. He did all the right things to make them happy, and it was wonderful times. That personally, he was just a most wonderful friend you can have. Beyond that, we've heard a lot about his contributions in the International Association. So I don't want to repeat any of it, except to say that ever since he organized this conference in Bangalore in 2007, he then started being interested in the international and slowly went into it in a kind of his own way. He charmed everybody where he went. He just charmed everyone by his personality, his presence, and by his incredible common sense. And therefore, people were drawn to his way, to his view, because it was also honest and loyal. So that went on all throughout the years. And the difficult times in the IOMS are known by some of us more than others. He was instrumental in solving the problems which were to do essentially with, with staffing essentially at that time, which was really very important. He took over the job from India and did it. He sacrificed a lot for it, and he solved a number of the problems. So he actually worked. I think India can be extremely proud of his performance as a surgeon internationally. And of course, now we have Sanjeev that follows in those footsteps. And I think that's a wonderful thing for India, that we have this much a contribution which has increased significantly after Kishore, and a contribution which can only increase from now on, because I think there's a lot of quality waiting in the wings to be explored or exported. And I hope that will happen. So Kishore, definitely a trailblazer, a pioneer, most importantly, a wonderful father and a family leader, a family head, who has been very devoted to his family. His family is absolutely wonderful. And I think about them all the time now, ever since we heard of his illness. And I wish them all the best for the future. And Kishore, of course, I don't have to say it, you will never be forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. George Paul.
Good evening, everybody. I know that it is good morning or good afternoon or good evening or good night at different parts of the world. And that is a measure of the man that Kishore was. A global personality across time zones. Undoubtedly, Kishore was a remarkable surgeon, an imposing figure, a person who held responsible positions. You have heard it all. Anything I say would be repetitive. For me, Kishore was a very close friend for the last 32 years. Someone who meant a lot to me. He was a gentle giant, very tolerant. Both of us were on opposite sides of the political spectrum. He hated socialism. I embraced it. And yet we got along like a house on fire. He was also a very forgiving person. This is some aspect that people wouldn't understand that existed behind that facade that he always gave. And save for one person, I think he has reconciled with any differences with anybody in the world. And that was in a conversation we had a week before he passed. But there are two things that stand out remarkably. Despite his imposing personality, he was a very, very humble person and generous to a fault. I would like to highlight this with one particular aspect. There is a scheme in the Association of Maxillofacial Surgeons of India in which he was a paid-up member for compensation for death of a member. And it comes to around 2 million rupees, 20 lakhs, as we say. And Kishore, in his generosity, as kind of a death wish, you might say, said that he would like to forego that amount, which technically means that he gave back to the Indian Association this 2 million rupees. He would be growling wherever he is if he knew that I was saying this publicly, because he wanted to do it as discreetly as possible. That was the man. Kishore, you are a great friend. You are a great friend. We stand with your family in support, and we will always remember you, and you will live long in our memories, as long as we live. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Gunashil and Rajin, thanks.
God made our relatives. Thank God he let us choose our friends. Kishore, to me and my family, was a godsend, although he would not have approved of the specific term godsend. He was a gem among friends. In a Tamil saying, it talks about friendship not being just for having good times, but also to be able to nudge you towards a course correction if needed. He gave me several course corrections in my life. 1989 in England, 35 years ago, when I was going to start an MSc paid program, he talked me out of it. He actually never talked me out of it. He beat me out of it and said, no way you're going to do that program. Go and do a fellowship. Earn the money, earn the respect. More importantly, I also got financial freedom. In the Indian Association, I followed him as secretary and president. And then he went the international way, I went the Asian way. And I was so surprised. He was so kind to the Asian Association. I remember when Professor Seto Kurita brought up things that were important from the Asian perspective, especially about double degree versus training in surgery and medicine. Kishore was so understanding and supportive of the Asian perspective. We will never forget that from the Asian Association point, Kishore. Nobody was happier when I became president of the association, of the Asian Association. He was a voracious reader outside of MaxFac. He would write, I mean, every one of us have read his amazing things outside of MaxFac also, and would do plenty of research before doing that. Over time, he became part of our family. None of our family occasions would be complete without him being there. In a very particularly difficult period of my life in 2013, during which my mother succumbed to acute myeloid leukemia, he and Ashwini were the first to reach my home to be a pillar of support to my wife and family. I can never forget it. Ashwini was a bedrock for Kishore and the children. But even family would not be spared the humor and banter of Kishore. I still remember on the 25th wedding anniversary dinner party, Kishore announced that their son Kiran was 26 years old. And then he went on to say that the only four-letter word that he was interested in anymore was GOLF. And that was a second course correction for me. I moved on to golf, which was to a more relaxed lifestyle and a world beyond MaxFac. Thank you for the wonderful times you gave us, Kishore. Wherever you are, be in peace. To Ashwini, Kiran, Apurva, Sushila, and the extended family, this meeting is a show of our continued support to you all forever. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Varghese Mani.
Sir, before that, we have a small video of.
No. Which one? Yeah, Guna sir, you want to play that video, Guna sir?
No. Please carry on. No, it's okay.
Okay. Yeah, Dr. Varghese Mani. Varghese sir is there, right?
Yes, sir. He has to unmute. Varghese sir, please unmute.
Praveen, can you unmute for him?
Yes, I'm doing it. Varghese sir, just click that OK button. Yes, sir.
Is it all right?
Yes.
Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You can hear me, no? You can hear me, no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Okay. Friends, as we all know, Kishore was a unique personality, endowed with courage, compassion, of course, his instant jokes, humor, and uprightness. He touched the lives of many, including mine. I don't want to elaborate on his achievements, as most of you have already recounted them. Instead, I could like to reminisce about our relationship, which is foremost in my memory. Our friendship began shortly after his return from the UK, following his MDS RCS during an IDA conference in Mangalore, where I presented a paper on orthognathic surgery. Initially, he believed that orthognathic surgery had limited scope in India. Later, he confided to me that he had planned to migrate to Australia, but it is because of me he decided to stay in India. I believe his sentiment was genuine, as he reiterated this in an interview. I am proud and happy that he chose to remain in India. Otherwise, our profession would have lost a great personality. I strongly believe that the international reputation we enjoy is largely due to his efforts. In 1994, Kishore, Gunashilan, and I initiated the first workshop on orthognathic surgery named FACE, from Forum for the Advancement of Craniofacial Surgery. The name FACE was Kishore's suggestion. Together, we conducted these workshops biannually in various parts of the country until the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. He played a crucial role in appointing me as the editor and president of the association. Above all, he honored me with the Jinwala oration at an international conference in Bangalore. His positive attitude and resilience sustained his wit and engagement in professional activities. And after he was diagnosed with the illness, he battled for more than a decade. I met him 10 days before his passing. Though I was traveling, he insisted I visit him upon my return. He repeated it again, and almost 2 or 3 times he told me, "Come back and see me on your return." Unfortunately, I could solely see only his remains. His loss is a profound loss for all of us, but it is especially personal for me. I mourn his departure deeply. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Krishna.
Good evening, everybody. I met Kishore as a very young 17-year-old dental student at the
dental college, as we call it, and school for some of you, 45 years ago. Even then, Kishore was a very charismatic personality that roamed around the corridors of that dental school. He was already a leader. And it would be an understatement to say that I became a junior member of this boisterous group of people, obviously led by Kishore, that created havoc around the corridors of the dental school for many years. That was the beginning of my friendship with him. Cut to the 21st century. In 2005, I once again joined this group, which already had Kishore as its leader and Sanjeev with him, to form what today is being called as the Bangalore Mafia. I don't know in what context we were called the Bangalore Mafia, but we wear it as a badge of honor. And this dawn of the Bangalore Mafia today has a situation where the members of the Mafia have spread all around the world, spreading their tentacles, and it's not just a Bangalorean phenomenon. Kishore was one of the most thoughtful, the warmest friend that I had, and throughout the number of decades that I shared beers with him, he gave me advice on anything that I asked him, including buying a house or reading a book. In fact, in the last 3 decades, more than half of my reading list has been provided by Kishore's tips. I can just name a couple of them. Many years ago, it was The Emperor of Maladies. And just a few weeks ago, when I went to see him, he asked me to read this book called The Bad Science by Ben Goodacre. And then he told Ashwini, go and fetch the book for Kita. Let him go read this. I was there, standing around with a lot of people, waiting at his beautiful residence at Cloverfields a few days ago, waiting for his last journey. And I bumped into one of the guys who I work with in another NGO, who I did not know knew Kishore. However, Rajiv used to, or is, a resident in the same community that Kishore lived. And as I started talking to him, he said that Kishore is an indispensable member of this community. He sorts out the problems for everyone that comes in and joins this huge community at Cloverfields. I thought nothing has changed in the last 4 decades. Nothing has changed. We'll all miss you, Kishore.
Thank you, sir. We have Kiran Nayak with us, Kishore's son. I request Kiran to please speak now.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. 1 second.
Yes, Kiran, we can hear you. Yes.
So nice to hear what everyone has to say. Thank you so much for all the kind words. Sorry, my signal is a bit bad here, so I'm just trying to move. But as most of you know, I've inherited Dad's height and his build, but sadly didn't inherit his sense of humor. It didn't come naturally to me. To many of you, you called him doctor, you called him Kishore, you called him sir. But for me and my sister Shushila, we had the unique honor of calling him dad. He taught me everything I know, including how to become a man, how to always remain curious and positive. He taught us how to, meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same. That's an excerpt from one of his favorite poems, which is called If by Rudyard Kipling. He taught me to be a leader amongst my peers, and more importantly, and more recently, how to actually become a father in my own right. In the days since his passing, it's been wonderful to see the outpouring of memories and the happy stories, similar to what many of you have shared today, as well as many of the anecdotes about him. Our sadness and tears have really been outweighed by all the nostalgia, the happy memories and the laughter and the stories and jokes that people have been collecting and fondly recalling. What I've really been thinking about recently is something he's been repeating a lot, which is that the meaning of life is the is to plant trees under whose branches and shade you will never sit. And that's left a profound impact on me, and I'm sure he's probably mentioned that to some of you as well. And that's a thought that I'm constantly thinking about now. But I know that Dad would really want to. I'm sure that many of you know this, but he was really grateful and proud to be a part of this fraternity of yours. He would often cite your examples and professionalism as examples of how I should run my own business. And as I've started my own practice, not in medicine, but in design and architecture, that your stories and all the things that he's done with you have shone light on the direction that I will be taking as a part of my career. So for that, I'm very grateful for all the experiences you've shared with Dad. So on behalf of Ashwini, my mom, Shushila, my sister, and myself, as in his life, our hearts and our home will remain open to all of those who Dad called friends and colleagues. So I really want to thank all of you. And it's been wonderful listening to all the kind words you've said today. Thank you.
Thank you, Kiran. We had a lot of messages in the chat box. Now I request Praveen to play those messages as a PPT. We'll quickly scroll through those messages, please.
Yes, sir, sure.
Yeah, Praveen, play that as a PPT, please. Thank you all for joining us, sharing your thoughts with us. Before we conclude, I want to play a clip for all of us to take home message. It's a clip from Kishore sir concluding one of the lectures he gave for us. Praveen, can you play the clip, please?
At the end of every lecture, I say, there's a lecture you intended to give, the lecture you actually gave, and then the lecture you wish you had ended up giving. There's three different things.
Everyone, let's celebrate Kishore sir's life. He will be always in our heart. Sir.
Pritam, thank you so much for organizing this.
Yes, over to you.
I request you to basically do the final. You were so close to him. You worked with him for such a long time. Requesting you to say a few words and conclude the session. And thank you so much to all our dear friends from across the globe who really, took their time off at different time zones and come for this AMSI event to pay this tribute to our dear Kishore, who lives amongst us. We will promise that we'll continue his legacy. And thanks to his wonderful family to be there, Kiran, Ashwini, and Sushila, we are with you all the time, and we love you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thanks for joining. Thanks, Dr. Girish. Thank you, Bhagwan.
Sure.
Sir. Thank you, MSI, for organizing this event for us. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone, for joining.